I hope that table was for my beer. Thanks, James, for stealing all the Orogel jokes. Let's talk a little bit about something serious, something that's close to home. Let's talk about spooning. It's an awkward, uncomfortable thing to talk about in a relationship. As a guy, you know what it's like when that arm starts falling asleep and you really start to question that love. But that drummer from Def Leppard, he had that shit down. Now for the kids in here, he had one arm. Okay, just so we're all on the same page. But I guarantee every relationship, big spoon, that guy, just saying. So we live in a shaming society and it's fucked up. We talk to people and shame them for things, you know, their body, the things they say, whatever it might be. But never once do we shame people for not washing their hands after they use in the bathroom. I don't understand. That should be priority number one. Just lights go off like some alarms every time they step out of there. I saw you, Carl, from accounting. I know you didn't fucking wash them. Don't try to shake my hand, fucker. I work in a call center. Speaking of Carl from accounting, we don't actually have a Carl in accounting. It's just for the purpose of that joke. But call center is an awkward thing, and some of you kids here in college may not understand it. Wait till you graduate with your theater major. We'll see you in a few years. Yeah, I went there. But a call center is a fucked up place. You talk to people on the phones, you sit in a desk, and you talk to people that don't understand how words work. You don't grasp this when you talk to people just throughout your day-to-day. When you spend 8 hours talking to people on the phone, you really start to understand it. I work at a website company. We deal with domain names, or as customers say, domain names, which makes it really hard to tell that joke without fucking it up. The worst part about these people, though, is the things that they'll say. Like, not only do you mix up words, maybe a little dyslexia, but they'll add letters to words that aren't even there. I had a guy call in and he's like, it says authentication failed. I was like, come on, man, there's not even a fucking F in that word. And he's like, well, what does that mean, authentication failed? And I said, it obviously means your password is wrong. The fuck out of here. But you talk to people and you grasp this concept that passwords, which we all use on a day-to-day basis, are a very difficult concept for a good majority of people out there. What I'm basically getting at is these people use a password every single day, yet still can never remember it. They are the people that if passwords were like children, they left them in the hot car. Oh, somebody always does that from the back of the room because it's not funny to leave kids in a hot car. It's not funny to call me every day to reset your password. Come on, man. The thing that I really have a tough time grasping is for something you use every day and you cannot remember it for the life of you, like how does that translate to your day-to-day life? There's got to be times where that same thing happens. So I like to picture people outside of the phone call that I'm on with them. I like to picture maybe they go to a dinner party. Maybe they are, introducing, hey, this is my wife, Jane. And this is my son, Charles. And this is my daughter. This is my daughter. So I know it starts with a capital letter. Hang on, just give me a second. So is there a 1 in there? I don't know. But what I hope always happens in that situation is the daughter recognizes that their father's an asshole at an early age and just locks them out of the relationship for about 12 hours, 57 minutes, and 39 seconds. That's fair. That's what they do with passwords. But people call in, and they'll say things that, normally speaking face-to-face, maybe you'd understand what they meant. Over the phone, things translate a little differently. So I had a guy that called in, and he said, I'm sorry, I had to disconnect with the previous representative. And what he should have said is, because I was choking on a pee. That's not what he said. He called in and specifically, first words out of his mouth are, I'm sorry I had to disconnect with the previous representative because I was choking on my pee. I don't, what? How can I help you reset your password, sir? All right. I had a guy that called in and because I work for website companies, he wanted to register the domain needforweed.com. That's the number 4. And I was like, oh, it's just like that video game, Need for Speed. And he was like, no, man, that's not what we're doing. I'm like, you're right. That would make the worst video game ever. Imagine you're just stuck there and you can't exceed 30 miles an hour. The only point of view that you can play the game in is just like this. That's it, man. You can't even switch that. There's no button for it. It's fucked up. But I talked to a customer the other day, and she had a Sexaholics Anonymous website. I was like, all right, if you got a problem, hey, get some help for it. Then I just kind of started perusing through the rest of the domains that she owned, and they were all equestrian related. I don't like to speculate, that's not fair. But there was that one time when you fuck a horse and you realize you need help, that's all. That's it. But I do sales in addition to the technical support gig. And if you've never worked a sales job, there's a lot of common phrases, things they'll throw at you. One of the ones that I learned at an early age was a butt is a butt. This comes when customer gives you an objection and you need to rebuttal them. So a butt's a butt, however, is an even bigger butt. So basically they're just saying don't use those words. They're argumentative. It's not going to get you anywhere. What I never understood is why it's even argumentative, because I like a girl with a nice however. Butts. I spend a lot of time my day at work listening to Pandora and Spotify. I'm sure the fair majority of you do as well. There's an obvious issue with Pandora and Spotify when you don't pay for their premiere service. You're listening to music. And then all of a sudden an ad comes on, which is 10 times the volume of whatever you were just listening to at your desk. And they, I did a little bit of research. Pandora and Spotify, they say they just pick those ads based on your listening preferences. So my question is, why is it always a Cialis ad? Fuck you, Pandora. I like Toto. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going to throw an observation out there. Observational humor is funny, right? People with Jesus fish on their car always drive like assholes. Always. You can count on it. You get behind them, just get out of the way. And those people go through life thinking no matter what you do, God's going to forgive you for it. Not that one, Grandma. Not that one. That's it. But as a kid, I was always curious, and I grew up in a conservative religious household. And I would ask questions about, why things were the way they were. So I asked one of the questions as a kid, like, why do thunderstorms happen? And the obvious answer from my parents was, it's when God's bowling. I learned as an adult that's not it, but man, it took me like 20 years. It was rough. Everyone laughed at me. It's fucked up. But I figure, if you're parents and you're going to lie to your kid about the existence of God, where are you going to stop? That's it. It's rough. But I challenged this as an adult. I realized, hey, maybe they're onto something. So I went bowling during a thunderstorm. That was the best case scenario. Fuck you, God. Just kidding. It was actually the closest to God I've ever felt. It's a really spiritual moment. I'm gonna bet the easiest part of working at the dollar store is probably the price checks. It's gotta be it. How much is this? It's $1. Let's talk about kids' products. They're advertised specifically to market to children. And, what it says on the bottle is not always true. What I'm basically getting at is not once in my adult life has Johnson & Johnson ever stopped me from crying in the shower. Liars. They're liars. I don't know. Speaking of kids, people that don't vaccinate theirs are a bunch of assholes. Hell yeah! Yeah. People that didn't cheer for that, you guys go and vote for Jill Stein. Have fun. All right. But the arguments that they present are the most ridiculous fucking things. Some of the ones that I've heard, and I've had these debates, and one of the ones that I heard was 80 years ago, people just fought off these diseases naturally and lived to the ripe old age of 35. All right. But if they fought off these diseases naturally that long ago, I just want somebody to go back in time and tell FDR to quit being such a pussy and get out of that chair. The other argument that somebody presented was hygiene nowadays is so much better than it was before vaccines existed. Obviously, we don't need them now. Tell that to fucking Carl from accounting, dude. I've never seen him wash his fucking hands. As a callback to Carl. Guy's still a fucker. Still doesn't exist, but what are you gonna do? You guys ever read Choose Your Own Adventure books? Yeah. I feel like we're bridging the generational gap here. All right. I went to a consignment shop, and they had a few of these, and I really debated buying them. They had one that was the best day of my life. They have one coincidentally sitting next to it, labeled as the worst day of my life. Still, doing the only thing that seemed appropriate, I switched the covers. Some poor kid's gonna pick up that book and kill himself. Yeah. How can this be the best day of his life? I'll leave you with a couple quick ones here. Do you guys ever notice that koozies always last longer than your friends' marriages? Yeah, that's a joke that gets too real for some people. I told that joke to the friend that I wrote that about when she came out to a comedy show. She still laughed. It was okay. It was okay. Just saying, 50% of marriages end in divorce. A well-kept koozie will last you a lifetime. I'll leave you with this one last piece. There's a lot of racial tension in the U.S. nowadays. It's important to recognize it, respect people. But there is really only one appropriate time to ever tell a black man that they can't go first, specifically because they're black. 100%, that's just in a game of chess. That's it. And if they get mad at you about that shit, you just let them know, hey, you always go first in checkers. Thanks a lot, guys. My name's Josh Staley. Have a good night, everybody.